A Georgia Court of Appeals rules that Delta-8 and Delta-10 THC products are not controlled substances, you guys. The Georgia Court of Appeals ruled Thursday that products with Delta-8 THC and Delta-10 THC and other hemp-derived cannabinoids are not controlled substances, potentially paving the way for their legal sale in the state. The ruling comes after several police raids over the past few years on businesses that sell the products. It all started with a raid of the Elements Distribution Company back in February of 2022. In a quote, what happened was that the Gwinnett County DA and the local drug task force raided several small businesses in the area, including our clients who are hemp products and other product distributors, said trial attorney Tom Church with the Church law firm. Church presented the plaintiff who supplies vape stores with hemp products, including Delta-8 and Delta-10 THC products typically sold as gummies. In a quote, for the first time in Georgia history, cannabis became explicitly legal as long as it didn't have too much of Delta THC, which is the type of THC that makes users high, Church said. Church added he hopes this ruling sets a precedent for smaller cases throughout the state. And in a quote, he says, I think this is a powerful message for folks around Georgia that these are legal products. The legislature specifically legalized them in 2019, and that law enforcement has no authority to go after businesses that are legally selling these products, Church said. The Gwinnett County District Attorney's Office can decide whether to appeal the decision in the Georgia Supreme Court, and that's all that they have for this story. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. Did this court mess up and create a big old snafu in this state? Yeah,
I
Dr. Mark.
definitely think so.
What's that?
You know my thoughts. You can joke all you want about how I love Delta-8, but you
Yes.
know what I think. Delta-8 has no place, in my opinion. It never should have cut the line in front of real cannabis. And I think all they're doing is setting up cannabis to fail in Georgia because they know that those products, unregulated, have a chance to give cannabis a black eye. I
Yep.
mean, for lack of a better term.
Not that too, but also flourish in the market because there's no regulation on them and they're very easy to procure from a consumer
Right.
standpoint.
There's definitely no what about the kids happening there.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Well, and their regulation that they just approved was for low THC oil, which is certainly beneficial for very sick kids
Mm-hmm.
who have epilepsy and whatnot. And certainly, I don't know about whether or not low THC oil is going to satisfy the entire patient needs. Low THC oil works in some cases, but I don't think it works in all cases universally. But what they're not doing is they're not snuffing out, this alternative cannabinoid market, which goes under no regulation whatsoever. And so, yeah, Georgia is big Delta-8 country. And it's interesting, Jason, if you look up the Controlled Dangerous Substance Act, it mentions um, Delta-8 THC right next to Delta-9 as being under code 7370 for tetrahydrocannabinols. So in the eyes of the DEA, Delta-9 and Delta-8 are controlled dangerous substances, regardless of what these people down in Georgia think. So, yeah, I mean, maybe they're doing this again at risk because they know that the DEA isn't resourced adequately to go after this. So they'll just run this level of interference to protect their businesses that are operating in this space down there.
That is possible, but I would expect based off that information you just shared, I would definitely expect this district attorney's office to file some type of appeal in regards to this judgment.
Yeah, it seems like they're misinformed somewhere.
Right? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that, Dr. T?
Yeah, so Delta-8 gets you high, and maybe not as effectively as Delta-9, but if that's their reason for accepting Delta-8,
Mm-hmm.
they seem misinformed. They're not talking to scientists. And the real concern about Delta-8 is we just don't know. I mean, like we said, Delta-9 has been used for thousands of years. Delta-8 is in trace amounts in the plant, but it's not been used at the concentrations that it's being used at. And also, when they're converting CBD to Delta-8, they're creating other compounds that we're not even testing for, or missing, and we don't know what they do to a person. So there's a lot of, it doesn't seem like they know what's going on out there in Georgia.
Let me just follow up on Dr. T's comment for a second. So it is a big misconception that Delta-8 naturally occurs. It does not naturally occur. The cannabis plant makes Delta-9 configured cannabinoids, and the trace amount that Dr. T is referring to is an artifact of the measurement that's made, because Delta-9 is not as thermodynamically stable as Delta-8. So if given the opportunity, it's easy to convert Delta-9 into Delta-8 in the HPLC vial that you're taking to sample that plant material. I have looked at over 10,000 COAs of flower material, and what I can tell you universally is Delta-8 THC does not occur in flower material. You only see it in products where chemistry has been applied to it. And like I said, if given the opportunity, Delta-9 THC, which is naturally occurring, will isomerize over to Delta-8. And you can't make the distinction of, well, was that Delta-8 in the plant? I don't believe it's in the plant, because if it's in the plant, we would see the occurrence of Delta-8 THCA, right? Because the plant doesn't make THC, it makes THCA. There is no occurrence of Delta-8 THCA. There's only two occurrences in the literature, and one was from chemistry that we reported on back in 2018. So I can tell you universally, and the hemp hustlers have to stick to the notion that Delta-8 and Delta-9 are naturally occurring, right? Because then they could just say that, well, they're taking farm bill legal hemp and doing some magic process into it to somehow concentrate the Delta-8 or Delta-10 THC. So what we do know, and I'll just finish up with this, is all of the Delta-8 products out there, all without exception, are made by a chemical conversion of CBD in a vessel, not extracted from a plant. So in that process, there are non-natural THC isomers that are generated. And do I think that there's a big health problem with Delta-8 THC itself, the molecule? I don't think it's any more dangerous than Delta-9 THC. Like Dr. T said, it's known that Delta-8 is not as active as Delta-9. What we don't know, and there's an experiment going on right now with all the Delta-8 products, is what about those other non-natural isomers that are formed in the chemical conversion of CBD into Delta-8? In fact, myself is collaborating with Dr. Alan Howlett at Wake Forest University. This is the scientist, neuropharmacologist that discovered the CB1 receptor. Okay, so she's sort of at the top of the field. And what we had found is that iso Delta-8 THC, which is one of the byproducts that is in Delta-8 products today, it's fairly prevalent in all Delta-8 products because it's a byproduct of that chemical reaction. That compound elicits some of the same neuronal signals as cannabinoids, but what we know is that it's not acting on the CB1 receptor. So she did some experiments to basically show that it's not acting on CB1, it's acting on another receptor. We just don't know what the dangerous and impactfulness on human health is of these non-natural compounds, because unlike Delta-9 and cannabis extracts, we haven't been using these for a millennia. So I'll stop there, but just to know that, Delta-8 right now is, you can look at Delta-8 as a degradation product like CBN. It's not made by the plant, but it's a degradation of products that are made by the plant. I'll stop there.
So basically, you're saying that all boof weed is probably high in Delta-8 because it's all degraded down.
Well, Delta-8, again, is more thermodynamically stable than Delta-9. So if you see a high preponderance of Delta-8 in any product, that basically means that it's just undergone that isomerization process, which is accelerated by acid. And how all Delta-8 products are being made today is through a chemical conversion of CBD into Delta-8 THC.
Bam. Any other closing thoughts on this, Dr. T or Stone?
Well, just, as Stone says, this is a byproduct of over regulation and stopping cannabis from being just used as it's always been. And this is what happens when we just try to control too much. So
Mm-hmm.
we've got to back off.
Most definitely. Anything, Stone? How much you love Delta-8? Anything? You're on mute, buddy.
He's on mute, maybe.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Steve.
Love that mute button. I was just going to say, Steve said it. Rico's not here. Follow the money, people.
Follow the money. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of money in this, and all those snake oil peddlers of all this Delta-8, Dr. Sheldon, I'm sure that when they do this, they're going to say that they have some patented, unique process that does all this, that's so unique and proprietary to them that only they can do it. But nonetheless, we're going to go to a commercial, and we're going to be right back.